All right, so apparently it's now bigoted and transphobic to have genital preferences. And this is how the argument went, or goes, I guess you could say. It's a little bit bizarre because it's oddly familiar, and I'll get to that in a moment. So apparently, for you to have a genital preference, say you're me, you're straight white male, the evil devil, and you meet a girl, very attractive girl, but that girl still has her penis attached. And you're like, well, no, I'm not really into that. I don't like dick. That's transphobic. Or let's take the opposite. You're a woman, and you find this man very attractive. So you two get busy and find out this man still has a vagina and bleeds. And you're like, no thanks, I don't like vagina. As fun as this may be, no thanks. And, they might give you the argument, don't knock it till you try it. Sure, I guess. But it really is kind of, no thanks. You're pretending to be something you're not, biologically. So, apparently, either situation is now transphobic. Having genital preferences is now transphobic. But the way this would work in the intersectional ideology, in their religion, is that sexual preference is a choice. Because biology and those sex preferences are social constructs. And we've heard this argument before. Just saying. But let me finish. The only reason I think that this even came to be was, if you remember the argument early on when Jordan Peterson was starting to become famous, he went on TV, and this person had a conversation with a historical biologist, and he can tell you why biology really isn't true with regards to sexuality or gender. Actually, it started with gender, and he can get into the details, but, for time, he wouldn't do it. Just believe him, right? It's the discoveries about biology aren't really accurate. Just cast some shade on evolutionary biology, just real quick. Just sprinkle it on there, because why not, right? Well, yeah, so it started there. Well, actually, it started a little bit before there, but, he was one of the dumbasses that thought this shit was real. Because he's historical biologist. He's not a real biologist by any means. No. He read the history of biology. Because that's more important than actual biology. Because in evolutionary biology, we can find a bunch of reasons why things are gay. For example, we'll stick with men because it seems that men are a little bit more binary than women. Women seem to be more fluid in their sexuality. Men are an on-off switch with this stuff. You're either gay or you're not. Bisexuality in men is very rare. And most of the time, they prefer men over women. But they will have sex with women because why not? They just don't care. But most of the time, they prefer men. Well, that would make them gay with... they don't cringe when they think about having sex with women. Most straight up gay men were like, ew, vagina, get it away. It's gross. At least the ones that I know. And so that's where it began, right? They think that evolutionary biology is bullshit. But in evolutionary biology, in men, it's more like an on-off switch. In women, it's more of a sexual preference, but usually is also kind of an on-off switch. So lesbians are nothing but vagina versus vagina. And they'll use toys and whatnot instead because they're not sexually attracted to men. Which is why they would hit on a woman. And if that woman had a penis, they'd be like, Or if a gay man hit on another man but found out that man had a vagina, they'd be like, ew, no. So, again, those situations would also be transphobic. So now you have two sets of cases where straight people, meaning a trans person, post-op, pre-op, whatever you call it, and going, ew, gross. And then with the gay side, meaning somebody that's the same sex, but still has their original equipment attached. Ew, gross. In both cases, that's what the response would be. So, where have we heard this argument before? When a man lies with a man, it is an abomination. From the Christian school of thought, sexual preference is a choice. And choosing to lie with a man is sinful, and therefore something to be hated. Or a woman choosing to lie with a woman is equally sinful and must be hated. In the LGBTQ plus RE community, apparently it is now transphobic. Not sinful, but a chronic fear of trans people, to not sleep with trans people. The same argument packaged completely differently. Isn't that amazing? Instead of something to be hated, it's something to be afraid of. Because if you're afraid to have sexual preferences, and you just don't want to have a dick in your ass because you're a guy who's straight, that makes you a transphobe. Yeah. See how this works? It's the same argument as the Christians. It's the same argument as the Muslims. It's the same argument as the Jews. It's the same argument as most religions out there that have a anti-gay stance. For the most part. I mean, anti-gay in some sense. Yeah. Because that's really what we're talking about. Same-sex relations. Being ew gross. No thanks. In both sense. Even when you are gay. Or lesbian. Like, there is a difference. You're both gay. It's mind-boggling to me that these people don't see that this is the exact same argument. When you go back to biology, it's not a fucking choice. You are hardwired. You are programmed for some reason or another. People don't quite understand it. It's something to do with your neurobiology that hardwires you to be attracted to men. Like, you just can't help it. You can fight it. I have friends that I grew up with that came out as gay. We were in dance class together. Actually, we were roommates for a little while, too. And then he comes out and says, yes, I am fabulous. And I was like, well, I kind of figured that. Why'd you have a girlfriend in high school, dude? They were madly in love, too. But he came out as gay. Kind of knew he was, sort of. Like, I had an inclination. But he never actually hit on me. He did pierce my ear, though. Like, my first ear piercing, right over here. I took them all out, but my first ear piercing was, he did it. Iced my ear and everything. It was kind of weird. Anyways. Yeah. People like him are apparently choosing to be gay. And if he chose not to sleep with a trans man, because ooh, vagina, go away, therefore he must be a transphobe. Something to be shunned in this community. Because when you call somebody a phobe of some form in this intersectional ideology, it has actually a indication that this person should be targeted for harassment because they are clearly a bigot of some side, and they just need to be hated. They just need to be destroyed. Like, bring them out, draw and quarter them, say you're a worthless piece of shit for not being progressive and not being in with the times and thinking that this stuff is just no thank you. Fuck biology. We don't care about your biology. We don't care that you're wired to be straight or gay. We think you're a transphobe, and therefore you are something to be hated because you're a bigot. Or a fascist. Or a Nazi. You know, they just escalate until you get to a point where you want to punch them in the face. That's usually how it goes with these people, right? So, that's how this thing works. It's the exact same thing as the Christians. They have redeveloped the religion and are copycatting literally every stupid thing that comes out of religion. How obvious can you be that you are not based in science, that you're based in bigotry, that you pull shit out of your ass just to target outgroup people that don't want to believe like you. I've seen people, I kid you not, there are PhDs, at least they claim they're PhDs. I wonder if this is true at this point in time. But they have a PhD on their name on Twitter. I mean, I carry my doctor on Twitter, but so what? They're claiming this to be true. That if you have sexual preferences, and sexual preferences are something that are hardwired according to neuroscience, if you have these sexual preferences, you must therefore be a transphobe, which is something evil. Something you should be shunned for. You're a bigot. You just don't understand that these people are people too, and you should accept a trans man as a man, even though they still have a vagina. You should accept a trans woman as a woman, even though they still have their junk. No. If you have genital preferences, it's because you're wired for said genital preferences. There's nothing wrong with that. It just is. There are some people that don't have a problem with it. Good. Find those people and date them. There are others that do. There are some that are just repulsed by it. They find it grotesque, either by indoctrination in part, but main part, they're just not sexually attracted to men or women. It's same sex. In some form. They're just not attracted. Or the opposite. If you're gay, you're not attracted to vagina. The thought of that type of action is grotesque to you. Because you're wired that way. It's not a choice. But apparently now it's back to being a choice, according to these dumb sons of bitches. So that's where I thought I'd point this out. You're looking at the same argument. Is it any wonder that I went from atheism to this shit? It's the same shit. You can't reason with science and then decide that you're going to go right back to religion, but, without the God, because why not? This is what Foucault and the other ones that did postmodernism were trying to do. The original idea was, well, there's no more religion, there's no more God in philosophy. We need to bring that back, but we don't really want to have a God. So let's do it this way. Let's reason like theologians and ignore the Enlightenment. That's pretty much what this is. So I leave it there. What do you think? I mean, it's the exact same argument to me. Do you see any difference? Do you see any flaw in their argument other than we've discovered that there's approximately 10% of this population of every mammalian species that is gay? And that gayness is the thing? Just accept it because why not? But sexual preferences come along with that. That's how you are gay. You have a sexual preference toward your same sex. So when a trans person comes along who looks like the same sex but as in actuality not the same sex, I can see why they'd be repulsed. It's kind of a thing. So for trans people in particular, you wonder why they have a high suicide rate? They don't fit in anywhere. They are the ultimate outgroup, unfortunately. They should be accepted. I have no problem with that. In fact, I could see why a lot of people lean on the surgery as being a good solution. It may or may not be. I mean, if they go through with it, I could see, there's probably one or two people that I've slept with that were probably trans people. I wouldn't doubt it. But I have a preference. And it's hardwired. Anyways, I'll leave it there. Enjoy that little point because it's been going around. Apparently, genital preference is now transphobic. Sounds just like a Christian to me. So, I'll see you next time.
I don't like people taking my clothes off.